Your Excellency, Your Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, the President of the Republic of South Africa, Deputy President, Mr. Paul Mashatile, Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, Acting Speaker of Parliament, Mr. Lichesa Zinoli, the Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, the leadership of the National House of Traditional Leaders, the Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Aaron Mtswaledi, and other ministers present, members of the Interministerial Committee, members of the Diplomatic Corps, deputy ministers, the Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Mr. Kabelo Gomanda, and Directors General present, heads of state institutions, the Security Cluster, including the National Commissioner, General Masimula, that's the National Commissioner of Police, leaders and representatives of all political parties and independent candidates, Chapter 9 and 10 institutions, domestic and international observers, all civil society, all faith-based organizations, outgoing chairperson of the Portfolio Committee of Home Affairs, Mr. Musa Chabane, Ms. Chabeni, Minister in the Presidency, former commissioners of the Electoral Commission, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Msutu Miepa, fellow commissioners, the Electoral Commission's Chief Electoral Officer, Mr. Simon Mambulo, and his Executive Committee, and to our sponsors and our partners, and I'm going to name them now. The Telcom Board, with their Chief Executive Officer, Exero Board, and their Chief Electoral Officer, the SABC Board, and their Chief Executive Officer, and more especially, the staff of the Electoral Commission of South Africa, members of the media, without whom we would not be able to do the job that we do. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the ceremony to announce the results of the 2024 national and provincial elections. As I said, Your Excellency, before you came in, it's a very short program, but I hope that it is worth every while. It is a reflection of much joy, sweat, nerves. It's the culmination of that process. And during this hour that you are going to be here, we ask you to reflect on the journey that we have walked and celebrate the moment that we are in here. We've had bumpy rides, we've had smooth sails, we've had bumps against our walls, and here we are, we're still standing. And I think that's a good thing. And having said that, there's no better way to mark this moment than to say South Africa's prayer, our national anthem. I ask you to rise and observe the necessary decorum as we say our prayer. Thank you. Silence so that you can savor that prayer. Thank you. Thank you very much. You may be seated. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you once again the Chief Electoral Officer of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Simon Mambulo. I think it is proper that I introduce him because he's not the same person that you knew before we came to the Rock. And so it is fitting that I reintroduced him. CEO, It's your turn.
Excellency, the President, that Cyril Ramaphosa, Excellency, the Deputy President of the Republic, that Mashatile, Chief Justice of the Republic, that Raymond Zondo, Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, that Musotu Miepia, Commissioners of the Electoral Commission, Ministers in government, Minister Naledi Pandor, Minister Nchabeni, and Minister Mantashe. Representatives of constitutional institutions, accounting officers in government, leaders of faith-based institutions, former chairpersons of the Electoral Commission and vice chairperson, Tate Museneke, leaders in business, leaders in our system of traditional leadership, provincial electoral officers and senior staff of the Commission, members of the diplomatic corps, and representatives of observer missions. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed citizens of our great nation, today marks a pivotal point on our democratic journey as we gather to draw a curtain on the momentous 2024 national and provincial elections. We stand before the nation to present an account of the delivery of an election, and we do so with a deep sense of national duty. Election 2024 was like no other before. It had salient features pointing to an ever-increasing magnitude of political dynamism, an effervescent electoral environment, and operational complexity. The democratic soul of a people is in part determined by its electoral architecture. Such a democratic soul is naturally defined by the constitutional and other statutory mechanisms enshrined to elect those entrusted the privilege of governing public affairs. Since the proclamation of the elections in February, our country has been on a journey to impart practical content to our electoral democratic soul. Even with novel challenges and political contours never experienced before, the 2024 election is a moment of democratic affirmation. In this very arena, we experienced electoral transparency of superlative proportions. Indeed, this was a theater of openness. As has been the case in the past 30 years, our democracy has spoken. Indeed, the people have expressed their political choices through the ballot box. We must now act to honor the choice of the voter, for an election is an inquiry on the political choices of the moment. In an election, the choice of the voter is sovereign. And I suppose this begs a repetition. In an election, the choice of the voter is sovereign. It may not be negated in any form whatsoever. Hence, the commitment we made to the South African voters when we assumed responsibility for organizing this election, that we will always honor their choices. It is therefore an opposite moment for honoring that commitment that we made to the South African people. And we honor it without prevarication. The chairperson of the commission will shortly pronounce the aggregate choice of the voter in the form of an election result. Operational and technological glitches notwithstanding, election 2024 represents a credible record of the political choices of the voters in the country. Accounts of observer experiences bear eloquent testimony to this, as does the election satisfaction survey conducted by the Human Sciences Research Council. Salient aspects in this regard are as follows. Results indicated that voters overwhelmingly believe that national elections 2024 were free and fair, and they positively rated the conduct of officials at voting stations. I was going to ask for an applause on that one. Trust in the election commission, in the electoral commission, was high, and almost all voters felt that they were safe to cast their ballot papers in secret. The majority of the voters felt that the IEC adequately considered the needs of vulnerable groups, being the elderly and persons with disabilities. But queuing time at voting stations increased relative to more recent elections, which had a bearing on electoral evaluations. Indeed, over 90% of sample voters during the elections were generally satisfied with the voting procedures. The voters also expressed unequivocal confidence in the commission. The 30 years of our transition from apartheid to a multi-party democracy has benefited not only this country, but the rest of the continent by hugely contributing to promotion of democratic governance, peace, and development. This reality reminds us that elections are not an end in themselves, but elections are an instrument of national and continental development. For electoral democracy to take root, regular elections must be accompanied by the collective responsibility we share to incubate a spirit and indeed a disposition that enables us to graciously accept the definitive choices of the voter. Imperatives of national unity demand of us to work together within institutions of public representation. The champion of the Festival of Electoral Democracy we are concluding today are the 16.2 million voters who cast their ballots. The act of civic action reinforces South Africa as an irrevocable democracy grounded on, amongst other values, regular, free, and fair elections. We commend every voter for their patience and tolerance as they exercise their fundamental right to participate in this democratic process. Your act of civic engagement will fundamentally shape the course of our nation's future. To paraphrase Mahatma Gandhi's saying, the greatness of an electoral system is how it treats those in special circumstances. The definition of the democratic soul of a people without the involvement of compatriots with varied special circumstances can be best described as nuggetry. Our electoral democratic expression must thus, of necessity, make provision for voters in special circumstances. In this election, a whopping 1.1 million voters used this special voting dispensation to record their political choice. Let's give them a round of applause. As a cardinal election management practice, the Commission will hold a debriefing session in the near future to consider in a comprehensive manner the gaps identified through the surveys, as well as the recommendations of domestic and international observers. This exercise assists us to improve our systems and practices for the next set of elections. We also wish to thank all state and non-state role players, especially business leaders, for their immeasurable contribution to the holding of this democratic election in our country. Their selfless support is what makes South Africa a great nation, an example of true multi-party democracy. Finally, I thank all the commissioners for your leadership and guidance, all members of staff, members of ESCO, members of the management committee, all regional leadership, including the 200,000 staff members who took charge of the voting process on election day. They did so and performed beyond the line of duty, and I wish to thank you all. Ke a leboga.
Thank you very much, CEO. Thank you very much. Give him another round of applause, if you will. Thank you. On that note, I wish to call to the lectern, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Msutu Miepe, to give us his remarks. Chair.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, the Chief Justice of the Republic, the Deputy President of the Republic, the extinguished guests that are here with us tonight, I want to acknowledge all of you and thank you for being here with us on this occasion. There are many of you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. There are many leaders of political parties and independent candidates that are here with us tonight who have contested these elections. And I want to say to them, their supporters, and all citizens of this beautiful nation, thank you. Thank you. Distinguished guests, when I look to my right, I really see a very beautiful history of where this nation has been and back. I see former chairpersons of the Electoral Commission, men and women of stature, men and women who have gone before us and really selflessly got us to where we are, even from a distance, lending your helping hand. We appreciate you. Fellow compatriots, distinguished guests, the 2024 national and provincial elections are all but concluded. This moment marks a pivotal juncture in our nation's democratic journey, a testament to the resilience and unwavering commitment to our people and to this beautiful land. to the freedom, the equality that we enjoy in this democracy. As we gather here tonight, let us reflect on the significance of a moment such as this, for it is not merely a culmination of an electoral process, but a celebration of the very essence of our democracy. These elections have tested our strength and the strength of our institution. They've put the integrity of our systems clear for all to see and to test. They have shown and demonstrated the resolve of our citizens to embrace democracy at a time such as this. These elections were undoubtedly the most difficult and the most highly contested. As a nation, we have emerged triumphant, having conducted these elections with the utmost transparency, with fairness, and with adherence to the high standards that are expected from a practice of any election management practitioner. There are many challenges we've had to negotiate and overcome. My fellow compatriots, the path to this moment has been paved by the sacrifices of those who came before us. And I truly want to say to you, we must recognize them and thank them even as we celebrate. Just as the watershed elections of 1994 laid the foundation for a democratic order, the 2024 elections mark a significant milestone in the continued growth and maturing of our nation's electoral processes and the deepening of its democracy. Throughout this endeavor, the Electoral Commission of South Africa has never sought to waver from its commitment to deliver elections compliant with South Africa's constitutional order. To do this, the Electoral Commission put significant measures in place to safeguard these elections. Yet, our journey was not without challenges. It sometimes entailed significant staff of the Commission, attempts to undermine the credibility of the institution and some of its key personnel. We've seen relentless and targeted social media attacks, disinformation campaigns, unwarranted allegations, and sometimes what appeared to be bare acts of intimidation. As an institution with enormous amount of responsibility to the nation that we all love, and one we all call home, we persevered and remained on the challenges before us. We had to keep that focus. At all material times, we understood that the sanctity of the democratic process transcends individual interests or personal grievances. We remained steadfast in our constitutional mandate, rising above the distractions faced at all times to ensure that the will of the people of this beautiful land is accurately reflected in the outcomes of the elections we will conduct. Thank you. In any election, and in anywhere in the world, when an election is about to be concluded, everyone is on their tenterhooks. And this we have all experienced from here and everywhere in the country. We've had many of you send us messages to encourage us, to support us, and to even say you are praying with us. We've had many of you finding out what would be the things you could do to help us move in a manner that will not distract us from anything. To all of you, receive our warm love and greetings from all of us in this commission and the many thousands that have worked in these elections, contestants, candidates, their supporters, observers, everyone. The state has worked in many ways with us, hand in hand. And to all of you, we want to say thank you. Le kamoso. And now, it is with profound humility that we announce the results of the 2024 National. I come back. I truly want to tell you that there were times when you never knew what day of the week it was. But we are over. South Africa, now it is the opportunity that we offer and honor with profound humility as we announce the 19 elections we have just concluded and their results. These results represent the collective voice of our nation, men and women across all strata of society, standing one with another in the queues, and in fact, going through this electoral process and knowing that that was a badge of honor that everyone had to be adorned with. And so, ladies and gentlemen, these are the results that represent the collective voices of our nation. We do so as we start with the results of the provincial legislatures. And now I present those results on the board for you.
Why are they announcing in silence? Shouldn't they be playing some music or something? Or maybe there's a problem with the sound. Okay, fine. Let's play our own music then. BGM. Okay, fine. Let's play our own music then. BGM.
fellow South Africans, ladies and gentlemen, after carefully considering the extensive measures put in place and acknowledging the provisions of Section 57(3) of the Electoral Act 1998, the Electoral Commission of South Africa declares the results of the 2024 national and provincial elections as free and fair. This moment is a triumph for our democracy, a victory for the principles of transparency, a measure that we can reflect on even as we take stock of accountability and the rule of law in our land. Let us celebrate this achievement while remaining vigilant, for the work of strengthening democracy is one that truly never ends. Together, we must continue to build a nation that serves as a beacon of hope, a shining example of what can be achieved when the power of the people is harnessed for greater good. I extend a heartfelt gratitude to all of you who made these elections possible. I want to single each one of you here and everywhere in this beautiful land. There are many South Africans that have spoken from many points of the world. To them too, I say thank you. We now take this moment to remind all of us that South Africa is an enduring democracy, but we are not where we should be. And every day we must work hard to continue on this journey. Let me thank you all, even as I ask that the Lord will bless our country, South Africa, and prosper her people. It is now my singular honor to hand over to the elected peoples of this nation, to hand over a list to the elected peoples in these elections, to the President of the Republic of South Africa, even as I ask him and invite him to come to the podium. Mr. President, do please come. Yes. Oh, Let us come. Ladies and gentlemen, I do truly apologize. I do truly apologize that I gave you a summary of the elections for the provincial summary. Please do bear with me. It has been a long journey. It has been a long journey. Let us now receive the results of the national. I assure you, I have now declared everything. Everything is done. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this is a moment where it is the Commission's honor to hand over this list of elected public representatives to the President of the Republic. Mr. President, may I please invite you to the podium to receive the list and give this nation your address at this moment.
Thank you. Let's be seated, please. Program Director, Deputy President Paul Mashatile, Mrs. Mashatile, who is here with us, Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, ministers and deputy ministers here present, and Chairperson of the Independent Electoral Commission, Dade Musutu Mwepya, and also former chairpersons and deputy chairpersons of the Electoral Commission that I see before me here, commissioners of the IEC, the Chief Electoral Officer, Dade Saima Mabolo, leadership of the National House of Traditional and Khoisan leaders, leaders and representatives of political parties here present, members and of observer missions, both local and international, members of the diplomatic corps, religious leaders, representatives of civil society, members of the media, and fellow South Africans. Chairperson of the IEC, there are just 4 issues that I'd like to comment on in terms of what you said. The first one, and I'd like the Chief Justice to close his ears in case there's another court challenge about what I'm about to say, that I spoke here as a leader of a political party, because I speak here, as you correctly said, Chairperson, as the President of the Republic. However, just a small comment, and the Chief Justice has already closed his ears. How I wish the mistake you made in saying these were the 29 election results was true. Now I put on my other hat, which is this one, State President. Dade Mwepa, you said, instead of saying distinguished, you said extinguished. Hi, Linda, I'm not yet extinguished. But the one that I truly, truly loved, and I'd never thought I would hear the IEC talking about love. You also mentioned love. Many of us truly want love tonight. Thank you very much to all of you. The final announcement of the 2024 national and provincial election results today in many ways represents a victory for our democracy as South Africans. It also represents a victory of our constitutional order, but more importantly, it represents a victory for all the people of South Africa. We have held another successful election that has been free, fair, credible, and peaceful. The independent, the Independent Electoral Commission has, despite many challenges, many difficulties that you went through, many mountains that you had to climb, once more, you have acquitted yourself with excellence, professionalism, and integrity. And we applaud you, as we hereby do. Millions of South Africans have cast their votes in cities, in towns, in our villages, and on our farms and workplaces, including our prisons, at voting stations, also at home and abroad. South Africans care very much about their country, as exemplified in the manner in which they went out to vote. South Africans have demonstrated that they want to be part of making this beautiful country a better place. South Africans have shown how important their vote is, and that they know that their vote does count. By going to vote, the people of South Africa have taken responsibility not only for the future of themselves as voters and their families, but for the future of our beautiful country. Through their votes, they have demonstrated clearly and plainly that our democracy is strong, that our democracy is robust, and that it is enduring. 30 years, it remains strong, and it is still durable. And we are meant to be grateful for that. And thank you to the people of South Africa. Our people have given effect to the clarion call that has resonated across generations, that the people shall govern. Our people have spoken. Whether we like it or not, they have spoken. Warata la sarati, babuile bad. As the leaders of political parties, as all those who occupy positions of responsibility in society, we have heard the voices of our people, and we must respect their choices and their wishes. Over the past 30 years, we have strived together to build a country which everyone, black and white, man and woman, young and old, can call home. This election has reaffirmed building a South Africa for all remains the defining mission of our nation. Over the course of the election campaign, parties and candidates have at times differed, and quite often forcefully. They have expressed a wide variety of views that are often at odds with each other. This is a welcome and necessary feature of a robust democracy such as ours. Yet throughout the election campaign, parties and candidates have held fast to the fundamental principles of our Constitution and our democracy. Parties and candidates have affirmed the right of voters to participate in an election that is free, fair, and peaceful. And now we are all called upon to recognize that the results of the election in the end reflect the will of the people. What this election has made plain is that the people of South Africa expect their leaders to work together to meet their needs. They expect the parties for which they have voted to find common ground, to overcome their differences, to act and work together for the good of everyone. I want to repeat, to find common ground, and underline that, to overcome their differences, to act and work together for the good of everyone. That is what the people of South Africa have said. Now, our people expect all parties to work together within the framework of our Constitution and address whatever challenges we encounter peacefully and in accordance with the prescripts of our Constitution and the rule of law. That is what is required of us. And of course, we will always have different views. We will always have problems that we will raise. What our people expect of all of us is to work together to find solutions in a peaceful manner in accordance with our laws. Each party emerges from this election with a mandate based on the commitments they each made to the electorate. However, all the parties share an overarching mandate to work in partnership with each other and with society more broadly to build a country that is inclusive, united, and prosperous. As we take our seats in Parliament, in the National Assembly and Parliament, and in the provincial legislatures, let us appreciate that the seats that we occupy do not belong to us. They belong to the people of South Africa as we represent them. Whatever authority, whatever power we are entrusted with must be exercised to advance the interests of the people of South Africa. As the 2024 election reaches its conclusion, and as you mop up everything that has to do with your work, Chairperson, we want to thank the staff and leadership of the Independent Electoral Commission, who have worked tirelessly to ensure the success of these elections, often under very trying and difficult conditions. We applaud you and we thank you, and let's give all the members of the Commission and the staff a round of applause and thank them. We are truly grateful to you. As I watched you do your work, I just kept on imagining, how do you do it when you have so many people all at one go in 3 days, all thronging to the centers that you have appointed or decided should be voting stations, and do it as well as you did. We thank you for that. Thank you very much. We must pay tribute to the men and women of the South African Police Service and the South African National Defence Force, General Masemula, General Mapanya. We want to thank you for ensuring peace and stability during voting. And we must also thank the Home Affairs staff and officials who ensured that as many voters as possible had their identity documents on election day. Thank you very much to you as well. I'd also like to extend our national gratitude to the independent candidates and leaders and members of various political parties that participated in the elections. I wish to thank all the local and international observer teams who gave their time and effort to ensure a free and fair election. I had occasion to thank the former president of Kenya, just to thank him for being here, President Kenyatta, as well as to thank President Jonathan of Nigeria, who were leading various teams on behalf of our continent, the AU, as well as on behalf of IEC. But I also do want to thank the journalists, all of you with your cameras here, the researchers, camera people, producers, analysts, and other members of the media who played such an essential role in ensuring that the people of South Africa were well informed as they went to vote. Thank you very much for being present and giving us the news continuously. Above all, I'd like to thank the most important people, the people of South Africa, for once again giving life and meaning to the values and principles of our constitutional democracy. And you are the most important people who have demonstrated that, yes, we can have a democracy, and you have given further life to the democracy that we now have over a 30-year period. This is the time for all of us to put South Africa first. The people of this country expect and deserve no less. And it is a time when we pray that God should bless South Africa and protect her people. Inkosi maisigelele i-Afrika, morena abuluke sichaba sa Jesu, ilaba hosi akatekisa Afrika zonga, that hot mot South Africa sien. Modzimu apatucheze Afrika chipembe. I thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. President. You may be seated. At this point in time, I'd like to invite you to watch a clip that has been prepared by the team of communications in the Electoral Commission. They have a little offering for you. If they can please play it, thank you.
From the blue of our heavens, from the depths of our sea, over our eternal mountain ranges, and through our far deserted plains, the voice of our beloved South Africa rises. Look upon our presence etched across our lands, in queues stretching through streets as if stretching through space and time. From 1994 to today, this is 30 years of democracy in action.
As one, as many, this is us, came together to make our mark, not merely as symbols of participation, but as a united chorus of action, as a promise to ourselves and our nation, a testament to our right and our duty to choose.
From the bustling streets of Joburg to the valleys of Limpopo, Mpumalanga, KZN, the Eastern Cape, Northwest and Free State, our votes are our voices, cast together as notes in our anthem, a testament to our hopes and dreams as a nation. Each ballot marked is a bridge from the past to the future, not just an act, but the heartbeat of democracy, a celebration of our voice and vision for tomorrow.
And for this, we give thanks to you, the people, and to the members of the IEC, and to all state apparatus, to those who counted deep into the night, ensuring the engine of our democracy keeps running smoothly. For 30 years, this system has thrived, upheld by dedicated hands and unwavering commitment. Now, let us hear from the stewards of our past, those who carried the torch of democracy and paved the way for our journey today.
Dankie dat jy besit geneem het van jou demokrasie. Dit is immers jou demokrasie wat jy julle eie gemaak het.
I would like to thank South Africans for their participation and their enthusiasm over these elections that have just taken place.
Sifisa ukudlulisela ukubonga kakhulu ngeqhaza lokwamukela imigomo yokhetho lwentando yeningi.
Re motlotlo ka lona. Democracy ena ke ya rona kaofela. Ha re ikakatleleng ka matsoho a mabedi.
As we reflect on the words of those who have guided us, we are reminded of the strength in our unity and the power of our collective will. Thank you, South Africa, for raising your voices, for making your mark, and for believing in the promise of a better nation. As we move forward, let us carry the spirit in our hearts, united in our diversity, unwavering in our pursuit of progress.
And always faithful to what it means to uphold 30 years of democracy, and to which we say,
here's to the next 30.
Thank you very much. Here's to the next 30 years. At this point in time, I did promise you a short program. I'd like to welcome the Vice Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Ms. Janet Love, to deliver our closing remarks. Vice Chair.
His Excellency the President of the Republic, Excellency Deputy President, and Honorable Chief Justice, and to all of you, it's been a wonderful time to come together after a very tough journey. It's a journey that you heard from various people has changed us all in many, many ways. Some people were not even sure what kind of day it was, what year it was. Some were looking backwards and others were looking ahead when they spoke of 2029. I just couldn't resist, I'm sorry. But I do want to say, you know, we started this journey of the last week in a manner that I think many of us kind of thought there's something in the air that is really geared towards taking us all to this transition. We had the most remarkable weather. We got to thank the stars for that. And today, as we end this journey, we are blessed with rain. So there's also got to be something that up in those stars is saying to us that when we put to the people of our country the very, very strong call to own our democracy, the people of this country, the spirits of this country, make very sure that that's exactly what they do. With all the diversity, with all of the enthusiasm, we find ourselves in a place where we've reached that moment of transition, where all of the people of this country will now look forward to knowing that those people who are going to represent them, whose mandate has been given from the people, will also know that the people of this country are going to own that democracy and are going to be watching in a way that I think this election has inspired them to do, particularly young people. And so I start by saying thank you to all of those who turned up, who voted, who made your voices heard, and who showed your participation as a testament to the spirit of this nation. You were determined. You stood there in queues, you faced various difficult conditions, but you stood the course. And as has been said, participating in this process can be brutal. And so everybody who did so really deserves a huge hand of applause. To talk about the employees of the Commission is to know that they go through tough times. I'm not talking about the things that people are going to, experts and maybe not so many experts, are going to really help us to work through as we assess what it is that we need to really look towards as we go forward. But I'm talking about those people who have spent sleepless nights to make this country able to face a transition in the most peaceful way possible, who've enabled this country to really take hold of this democracy and own it in the face of the most incredible things. One of the people who's part of the management team of the Electoral Commission is somebody those of us who are in the Commission will know who I'm talking about when I tell you how there are very few meetings where her stories don't bring us to a point of utter laughter as well as admiration, whether it's bees, whether it's having difficulty to get the keys of a voting station for reasons that none of us could have predicted. But all she is talking about is the fact that every one of her colleagues stays the course. And it's because they too not only are led by a team of the most remarkable people, but also they are inspired by the dedication of their own staff in the provinces and in the regions. And I do want to pay a special word of tribute to those 200,000 members of staff who occupy positions at our voting stations. I know many of you think of these people as people who somehow are employed. It's partly people who get a level of compensation for taking on a huge responsibility to this nation. And they do it with the passion and with everything that they have. And I think we should give them a round of applause. To our domestic and our international observers, at every stage, you have been critical. You come from all walks of life. You have helped us to have extra eyes. You have helped us to think not only of where we've come from, but where we need to go. And you've helped us to benchmark against the best in the world, and we are so much a part of that. We thank you for your dedication, and we thank you for bringing all those voices to the table. The voices of the Chapter 9 institutions who came with their teams. The voices of the faith-based organizations who came in their hundreds to help us, to enable us to really work together with this nation to take hold of this democracy. To civil society of every kind of stripe, to business, to partners, and to sponsors. And by sponsors, we don't only mean people who have made this transparent event possible, such as people that have already been mentioned, Zaro and Telkom. But we also mean those sponsors who, let me tell you, now that we have indicated that you have got your mandate to go forward as elected representatives who contribute to the Multi-Party Democracy Fund. Here we have people like Standard Bank who really make a difference, not to us, but to you, in order to make your representation on behalf of the people of this country a lot stronger. So we thank you for your presence here. We thank also the media, and in particular, the SABC News, who really have done a sterling job in keeping this nation informed. And indeed, the media as a whole has received some praise, and for the most part, I wouldn't say entirely for the 100% of it, but for the most part, have helped us not only to inform people, but to combat disinformation and misinformation. And hopefully, with all the diversity of your voices and the opinions that you give a platform to, you'll keep to that course. Even those of you who maybe haven't done it as proactively as we would have liked, we're saying to you, that's our challenge. Our challenge is to make this process transparent, but also to make sure that the information that we give to people is as accurate and as comprehensive as possible. It's difficult to place enough praise on our security establishment, who helped us defy all the predictions and really make these elections, in the main, incredibly peaceful, to the extent that all of those international observers and indeed international journalists could hardly believe what it was that they were seeing. So I stand here on behalf of the Commission to really thank you for invigorating our democratic process, our process of empowerment, our process of diversity that enable us to continue marching forward for the next 30 years and beyond. Thank you from the Electoral Commission for joining us.
Thank you very much, Vice Chairperson. At this point in time, could I please ask all of us to remain seated as the head of state departs from us? I thank you, Your Excellency. This is the time when you leave us. Deputy President, Chief Justice. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, guests, dinner is served.